Hey, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box Podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 197.
Yeah, we are.
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?
Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the Tardis should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello. Surprise.
Boom. Etc.
I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you. Don't ask stupid questions. And don't wander off.
How can you kidneys? I don't like the colour.
Howdy do, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week. And that you've managed to do something. Doctor Who.
Related.
All right. Are we awake yet? Have we woken up?
No, I haven't.
Still knackered.
Yeah.
From the throes of London Film and Comic Con.
You know, I'm quite bold anyway.
Mm.
But what little hair I have got left has gone completely white.
It's just gone.
With the stress.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you guys probably know what we were up to last weekend, just gone. Hope you guys we didn't manage to meet all of you guys there. We saw plenty of tweets and stuff and messages saying, I saw you in the queue, but you were busy and I was busy, and I saw you over there, but you were talking and then I had to go off somewhere. So we met up with so many cool people, but to the people that we didn't manage to say hello to and grab a selfie and stuff, we're very sorry. It was quite a busy weekend, it turned out to be.
It was well full on, wasn't it? I mean, one of my friends, Richard, was coming down to it, and I only really see him once a year at these events, and I didn't even get to meet him all day. We kept missing each other. Funny enough, someone's just sent me, literally about half an hour before we started Skyping. Someone has just sent me a picture of my back, of me in a queue, and said, "Oh, I saw you." And I was like, "Did you? Oh, sorry, I missed you." So yeah, I took a picture of you in the queue for Davison. I was like, "Oh, right." So that's as close as they got. There's a picture of my back, which is lovely. But yeah, it was pretty full on, wasn't it?
It was, yes. So I hope you guys did something Doctor Who related if you weren't in the UK, or if you didn't get down to LFCC. Hope you did something at least. But we did have a great weekend. It was because originally you and I planned to, well, this is months ago, we said we're going to do everything on the Saturday and then we're going to have a chill day on Sunday. That was the original
That's what I planned, yes.
plan a couple of months ago. But as always with these things, there was lots of changes. There was guest announcements right up until the last minute.
Oh my goodness,
there was guest announcements. So all of our plans literally, it was a bit like getting trapped under the Tardis central column going up and down and just sort of being trapped between the glass panels and looking out. That was if we could imagine a meme like that was our plans, just getting squeezed up and down the central column of the Tardis. It was like, it's not going to happen. It was ridiculous. But it ended up being a great weekend, very busy. And I'm still tired, and it put my man flu back a day as well because I was hoping to because I was getting over it, and my voice was shot to bits while I was there, but I was hoping to get over it, but it's put me back a day because I'm just so knackered. But it was good.
It was worth it. I think I think I said on the Saturday when I got home something along the lines of I'm never doing another London Film and Comic Con ever again. But I'll tell you what, I totally reversed by Sunday. I was totally, I was loving it. And looking at the weekend as a whole, very happy with all the picks and stuff I got. And it is a stressful thing. It's a stressful event. I mean, I think everyone, looking at everyone's posts afterwards, I think everyone's the same. It's like it's such a full-on, in your face sort of stressful day. But it's kind of like, as long as you get the stuff you want, it is worth it in the end. I mean, but it is, there's no two ways about it. You've got to be prepared to just get into the crowds and do what you need to do. Yeah. I was going to say, overall, I did really enjoy it, actually. But the contrast between Saturday and Sunday for me was massive. I mean, as I said, Saturday I wasn't initially going because I was trying to save money. I thought I'm just going to do the Sunday, get the guests on Sunday, and that's that. But then they announced the schedule a few days before, which they always do, because they keep it right to the last minute, because obviously there's so many changes. I understand why they do it, so that, because if they put it up a month before, it would be pointless anyway, because by the time you got to the event, the schedule will have completely changed anyway. So I get why they put it up like literally last minute, but it is frustrating as well. But yeah, I looked at the schedule and I was just like, if I want to meet the people I want to meet, I've really got to just splash the dosh and go on the Saturday as well. Plus, I was thinking it'll make the weekend less stressful because I'll be 2 days to soak it all up. Because there's a lot there, it's not just about guests. There's loads of stalls. There was Daleks. There was Tardises. There was a lot to see there. So, I was thinking actually, I'll spend the extra money and go on the Saturday, because you'd booked the whole weekend as well. So I thought, let's do this. But I'd purposely sort of only booked like 2 shoots on the Saturday. So that should have been quite calm. And on the Sunday, for anyone that doesn't know, the schedule, all the doctors that were booked, and we'll get on to how many they managed to get at the end in just a second, all the doctor photo shoots clashed. So they're all at the same time. I don't know why they did that. I'm sure there was a reason. But my goodness, did it make for extra stress on the Sunday trying to rush around to get them all. So, as it turned out, and we'll go into a bit more in depth, but as it turned out, the Saturday for me, I really didn't enjoy, and I'll get on to my reasons why once we get into it. But I'd had enough. When I got home on the Saturday night, I was quite down, actually, quite the opposite to what I should have been feeling. And I was dreading Sunday. I thought, God, if this is the Saturday, Sunday, I just need to get it over with. I was just dreading it. And actually, Sunday was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed Sunday. I had such a good day. Thank goodness, because it kind of put everything into balance. We're reflecting back on the weekend as a whole. I did enjoy it, and I've sort of analysed what bits went wrong and why they went wrong and stuff like that. And but overall, it was a great weekend, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was.
Yeah. Well, how was it for you, mate? Because I got the feeling yours was a different experience to mine.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it overall. It was, I know what you mean though. You mentioned earlier that when it's all said and done, it's like, oh, I'm not doing that again. And then it's a bit like when you're really hungover. It's like, I'm never drinking again.
I'm never drinking again.
This is terrible. And then, whenever the next do is on, you find yourself drinking again as you did before. But it's, exactly. I know what you mean. But I had a great time. I was kind of it was weird because on the Saturday I was kind of there in like a Star Wars capacity sort of thing, really. Because I'm working on a couple of things Star Wars related at the moment. So I got to meet a couple of people there, some other Star Wars blogs and a podcast there and stuff. And but then I sort of transferred over to Doctor Who, once we met some Doctor Who people, we hung out and all that stuff. And then the Sunday was much the same. I mean, the Sunday got turned on its head at last minute on the Saturday, as we'll come on to. And it was really busy. So, like I said, we planned to have a chill day on the Sunday, but it just went absolutely mental and we ended up having a really busy couple of days. And there was only a couple of points where I could actually slow it down a little bit and enjoy it. And that was quite early in the morning. So I got there around... on the Saturday I was late, actually. I got there around 20 past 10. And then before I met up with a load of people, I just spent half an hour walking around on my own and having a look around. But on the Sunday, I got there about 9:30, and I did the same thing. I just spent an hour or so toddling around and doing your own thing, which I think is needed, because you did a similar thing at the end of the day, didn't you? But
I did, yeah. Yeah,
but no, it was great. I had a great experience, mate. There wasn't anything disastrous for me. There wasn't any problems as such. There wasn't any anything that miffed me off or anything. So my experience was a little bit different to yours.
There was a near miss, though, for you, wasn't there, on the Saturday, which could have been disaster with Ray Park.
Yeah. So I don't want to go too much into it because, as we said a million times, this is not a Star Wars podcast. But
no.
I booked to see a photo shoot with Ray Park and his batch. Well, I think I was on batch 1 or 2, one of the early ones, and his photo session kicked off at 10. And thank God for our good friend Martin Bad Wilf, because he had hooked me up with a press pass, which means I didn't have to queue with everybody for over an hour to get in. I could just zoom straight in. But there was a problem with the train and one was cancelled, so I had to leg it there. And I got there and I was like, I'm here for Ray Park. I'm sorry I'm late. And they were like, I'm sorry, we've just closed it up. He's going to be moving on to signings in a minute. So I was like, oh no. So I was sort of scratching my head and they noticed I had my press pass band on. And they said, oh, your press. Ignore what I just said. Come through. You know, you can have a picture. And he was just sat on the table sort of swinging his legs. And because I had my press band on, he assumed that after the photo, I was going to do an interview with him. So I was like, okay. So I didn't have a recording device or anything. I just sat there and had a chat with him for 5 minutes, between sort of 5 and 10 minutes. And it was brilliant because I went from, potential disaster. Oh no, I've missed it, because there's no refunds. If you miss it,
no,
you miss it.
If you miss your photo shoot, you've had it.
That's your lot. So I was really lucky. So thank the stars for our good friend Martin. I am at least a couple of points now when we next meet up. But so that was really cool. So disaster averted. Had a really good catch up with Ray Park and a nice photo.
And just to let non-Star Wars fans know, Ray Park played Darth Maul, the big red bad-tempered tomato that's in which one is he in?
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace. It is Phantom Menace. Yeah. So well, that's very cool, mate. But we should talk about the Doctor Who guest though, because Showmasters absolutely. Crikey. I mean, they didn't just pull it out of the bag this year, did they? It's quite incredible. Actually, I mean, it may have been chaos and the organisation and stuff and the way it was announced and all that. Putting that to one side for a second, what they managed to achieve was incredible, actually. Yeah. They got every single living Doctor at the event, apart from Jodie and McCoy, who cancelled.
Yes.
So everybody was there. And I don't know if that's ever happened before. So Tom Baker, Davison, Colin Baker, McGann, Eccleston, Tennant, announced the 11th hour on the Saturday while we're there, which we should go into. Smith and Capaldi, all in one venue. I mean, I still can't quite believe it. And
David Bradley, if you want to count him as the first Doctor.
Yes, of course. Yep. The lovely David Bradley, actually. Yeah. So, let's just quickly talk about Smith because we couldn't believe... Tennant. I keep doing that. I think it's because it's John Smith. Yeah, so Tennant announced at the last second on the Saturday we were there. So we were in a queue for Ingrid Oliver, I think, getting her autograph when one of our friends come over and showed you her phone and said, Tennant's been added. And you were like, yeah, whatever. And so was I. I was like, don't be silly. He's like, no, he has. Tickets are on sale now. And we were like, what? So everybody jumped on their phones, didn't they, to try and book him because he was announced for the next day, the Sunday. And we're all at this event, and I think everybody at that event was just on their phones trying to book him because the site completely crashed, didn't it? You could get tickets downstairs, which a few people did from their little sales desk, but the queue for that was just massive. So it was chaos. But a lot of people, I mean, you managed to get one. Most of the people I was hanging around with managed to get one. So, people did manage to book it, but obviously the site was under immense pressure because of the last minute announcement. So. But to get Tennant there, I mean, I didn't think we'd see that. I really couldn't quite get my head around it. I was just like, wow. Yeah, I mean, Eccleston was the big one. They managed to get Eccleston to his first convention, but to get Tennant back again. I mean, I don't know. I know he's done Showmasters before, but it's quite some time ago, I think.
Yeah. There's a domino effect, really. They nabbed Eccleston. Remember, we had the whole controversy around his pricing and everything, and But then, Matt Smith was announced, and you were like, amazing. Then you booked up.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah,
it was awesome. And then, like you said, last minute, they somehow got Tennant in. I mean, they must have. I know that the big one that Showmasters do, this big London one, pulls in an awful amount of money, but they must have spent some serious cash on Smith.
I was thinking this, yeah.
Especially Smith and Tennant, but obviously Eccleston and Capaldi. But yeah, they must have splashed the cash to get those guys in.
I was thinking this, funny enough, and I don't know how these things work, but I wonder, do you think they had to wait to the last minute to see if they could afford it? Do you know what I mean? Do you think they looked at what they'd sort of taken on the photo shoot so far with Chris and Matt and everyone and thought, right, we've got enough budget to get him? Or I don't know how these things work because it was so last minute. I've heard lots of different reasons for it, and I don't know if any of them are true, but my favourite one is that I've heard that Tennant said to Showmasters that he didn't want to be announced the last minute until he knew he could 100% do it because he didn't want to be seen to cancel and let fans down. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't even know how that story has started, but that's what I was told when we were sort of mingling with people afterwards, that he just said, like, you know, as soon as I can confirm 100% I can be there on the Sunday, I'm in. But I don't want to say yes and then cancel and let people down. So I don't know if that's true, but I like to think it is. I liked it because it was so frustrating at the time to try and get tickets. I like to think there was a good reason for it. Yeah,
so I've got a different theory.
What's your theory?
I reckon that he was on board when Daddy-in-law was confirmed because he could get a lift home.
Because Peter Davison was added like 4 days before, wasn't he? So he was another late one.
Yeah.
He literally got added last minute as well, yeah.
Yeah, so he probably thought,
he said,
sweet.
Come on, David.
Yeah, come on, David. Yeah. He probably thought, I'll jump in with Daddy. No worries.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that David Tennant only lives, 20 minutes away from the venue.
Exactly,
He lives the other side of London. So for him, in a driven car...
You sound like a stalker. A Tennant stalker. He only lives up there.
I'm pretty sure. I'm
outside his house. I've been at the end of his drive.
I'm pretty sure he lives near Chiswick, around that area. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I've heard he does, but
so
I don't.
Not a million miles away. But, but yeah, Tennant was nuts. I mean, I can't tell you the experience. We'll come on to the other guests in a minute, but just to get him out of the way, I can't tell you how... just how nice he is. And I know we say that about a lot of people, but to me, Tennant really carries the torch in terms of he just gets it. If that makes sense. He gets that people have been queuing up for God knows how long, and he gets that because I think in his mind, because I think there are certain guests that treat this in certain ways, and we can talk about this for a long time, but just very quickly, I think there are certain guests that are not as sensitive to these things as others. So you have some people that are there and signing autographs and they're happy to do it, but they see it just as a little bit of a cash cow, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they turn up and they know they're going to get a minimum amount plus whatever they take on top of photos and autographs and so on. But David Tennant just seems to get the fact that not only do we pay our money to go there, but he sort of gets the fact that, these people are only potentially going to see me for 3 seconds in their entire life. You know, once this photo shoot is done, because they did say when we were queuing up, one of the organisers, you know, she was sort of bellowing out saying, this is going to be one of the quickest photo shoots we've ever done. There's no time for handshakes, for chats or anything. You're going to be standing next to David and then you're gone. So it's 2 seconds. And I think David Tennant actually gets that. You know, he knows that, you know, this little, you know, this 10-year-old kid or this 40-year-old man, whatever, is going to see me and stand next to me for 2 seconds and it's going to be amazing for them. And then I'm going to forget them. But they're going to have this moment for the rest of their life. And I think he gets it. And he's just so... I don't know, he just looks you in the eye. And we did shake hands, you know, a lot of people shook hands with him and he looks you in the eye and he says, you know, he's just so humbled that you're paying money to just have a quick photo with him. So the reason why I love Tennant, not just because he's my doctor, but he 100% understands all of that fan stuff. You know,
I think it's because he's a fan himself, mate. That's what I think it is. It's because he's a Doctor Who fan. So he was probably there. He was in our place once upon a time. So I think he gets it. And I think Capaldi's the same, you know. Out of all the Doctors that I've met, I think Tennant and Capaldi just strike me as being the same, because Capaldi was unbelievably generous with his time at LFCC. I mean, I only got a photo shoot with him, but apparently his autograph session completely overran, and apparently he stayed an extra hour, like literally after the event was, as the event was closing, he stayed an extra hour and just to make sure everyone got their auto stuff. And I don't know if anyone else did that, but you know, he's cool. You know, but I get it with Tennant. I mean, I wasn't lucky enough to get a Tennant shoot, so I was really, I can't lie, I was depressed as hell on Saturday night. I was really down about it because I hadn't really enjoyed Saturday anyway. So I was really, really down in the dumps on Saturday, feeling sorry for myself because I didn't get one. But I have to say, having seen everyone's pictures with him, he just does come across as like the best guy, you know. And I think, I really hope he does more, because I was gutted to miss out on him. But I can see from his photos, he's pulling poses, and I can just see exactly what you're getting at. He just seems to really throw himself into it and think, right, let's do this.
Yes.
You know,
there's sorry, go on.
No, go on. There's
no huffs. There's no rolling of eyes. There's no, come on, I want to go home. There's none of that. None of it at all.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't meet it, but if you go on the forum, I love going on the forum afterwards to see everyone's experiences. One of the people that a lot of people are moaning about, there's two of the guests, which is Steven Seagal and Miranda Richardson, who was Queenie in Blackadder. Apparently, those are the two that keep standing out to me. That people were just like, well, you know, I may as well have been stood next to a cardboard cutout. You know, apparently it's Seagal's photos. He's just sat in a chair with his arms crossed. He looks as miserable as sin. And Miranda Richardson's one's not that better. But so it does make a difference, because even though you meet them for like a split second, you grasp, you know, whether they want to be there, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I think it's true to say that. Like you said, you know, from your Tennant shoot that he just was into it, giving something back. Mm-hmm. You know, I think I've been lucky. I've never been in a shoot where they've been off that I can think of. But I know plenty of people who have. Like, as I say, if you go on the forums, there have been, you know, plenty of sort of prima donnas over the years at Showmaster. You know, Pamela Anderson, for example, insists on having this great big bright light, which completely ruins everyone's photos because they're so overlit. You know, she insists on it every year. So, you know, it's just great when people like Tennant just turn up and, like you said, you just feel you've experienced, even though you've met him for 2 seconds, you feel like it was an experience. I mean, you know, Cumberbatch last year, he was really nice and everything, but I mean, it was so quick. I honestly still don't really feel like I met him or anything. I don't even remember going in front of him, you know, with it. It was just so quick, you know, and it was lovely and everything. I remember, you know, he was sort of smiling and everything, but yeah. So anyways, it's cool. I mean, Tennant is your Doctor as well. So it's brilliant that you got your pick of him. Who else did you meet this weekend? So you met Ingrid, didn't you? Ingrid Oliver?
Met Ingrid, queued up and got an autograph and a little selfie with her, which is cool. Before we move on, though, I must mention it's really funny, because I queued up with Matt from the Who Addicts YouTube channel and one of our good friends, Jay Kent. And those guys were in front of me. And Jay Kent, he's a bit of a character. If you listen to this show for a while, then you would have heard his audio reviews that he sent us a while back. And when he got up to David, he had all I heard was this real funny noise, and saw David Tennant sort of and put his arm around him, and afterwards he said that he planned this really cool few words to say to him, like, it's an honour to meet you, David, and you know, you're my childhood hero. But it came out as
just turned to jelly.
he completely, you know, when you just get starstruck and stage fright and you just lose it. Yeah, he just lost he lost it. It turned out this big, you know, he churned out this garbled mess of noise, and David said it just put his arm around him and went, oh, you know, and had their little photo, and it was so funny because
I could see that happening as well.
Jay Kenny's so funny, but so that had me in stitches. It's so funny.
So apart from Tennant, what was the highlight for the weekend for you?
So apart from that, so in my Star Wars mind, obviously it was Ray Park, but other than that, I'm going to say Noel Clarke.
Oh, dude, yes.
Yeah.
Another one I didn't get to meet, but yeah.
Such a great... He's so cool. He's such a cool guy, he is. And it's a kind of a similar experience going into his photo shoot, because he just took that extra second just to shake hands and say hello. And I had the Star Wars T-shirt on a Saturday, and he came in. I walked up to him, and we had sort of a handshake and a little sort of bro hug, as you do. And he's like, "Oh, I love your T-shirt, man. It's so cool." And I said, "Yours is awesome as well." And he had a
Turtles, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Teenage Turtles, yeah.
So we sort of held his cardie, and we pointed at T-shirts, and and he was like, "It's a pleasure to meet you, man. Enjoy the rest of your day." Just really polite and such a cool guy. So that was really good. The photos that I had there turned out really nice as well, because sometimes you think, "Oh God, am I blinking? Am I?
Yeah,
is it not turn out all right?" But I had a really good few photos there. So cool.
It's always that worry, isn't it, when you're waiting for it to come out of the printer? You're like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be good? Yeah, that's cool. I couldn't meet Noel. I had to make a choice because there had so many Doctor Who guests clash this weekend. So he was on at the same time as Ingrid Oliver. Now, the reason I went with Ingrid is because I was lucky enough to meet Noel at a comic signing last year, year before. Right. Yep. So I've got a picture of him on my phone, and it's not the same. I would have loved to have got that professional shoot, because the one you got is awesome. But I kind of sort of had to weigh up in my mind, well, I've never met Ingrid, so it makes sense to me to meet somebody I haven't met. I've got a picture of Noel, so that's why I went with Ingrid. But yeah, it's a very cool picture you got with Noel. And Ingrid was lovely, actually. I got a great picture of her. I wore my scarf just for that one shot. Cool. Yeah. Took it straight off, and she did comment on it. She was cool. Highlights to me, actually, one of the highlights is David Bradley. Oh, yeah. I got a photo shoot with him last year, but I got a really nice autograph from him this year. And it's funny because, like you were saying about Jay Kent sort of thinking about all this stuff he wants to say in his mind. Well, David Bradley does like to chat to people, which is nice. So the queue moved really slow, so I had plenty of time to think about what I wanted to say to him. And I thought, yes, I know what I've always wanted to say to him is just how much I love him in an adventure in space and time and stuff. So I finally got to tell him that. And I sort of could feel myself getting all emotional telling him. I was just like, David, I've been watching Doctor Who since I was a kid, like ever since I can remember. And one of my favourite things ever is an adventure in space and time. So it's just you're so good in it. It's such a wonderful drama, really beautifully produced. And he was just like grinning at me, and he goes, because I love his accent. Where's he from? He's like, you know what? I'll take that. I'll take that. That's not his accent, but he's like, I'll take that, young man. And I was like, oh, brilliant. Because I said, I absolutely love it. So he's just such a nice man. And I got a nice auto from him. And
had a little moment.
Had a little moment with him. So that sticks in my mind. Great to meet Eccleston. I think we can say he enjoyed the event. It certainly looked like he was enjoying it, because there's been this big thing, because it's his first convention. It's like, if a fan annoys him, he'll never do one again. And if he doesn't enjoy it, or if it's overwhelming, when he's never going to do one again. I mean, I can only go from what we saw. So to me, it looked like he was enjoying it. He certainly was very friendly in the photo shoots. There's this great thing doing the rounds on Twitter and Facebook of this video of when him and Matt walk across the hall. I think they're going sort of in opposite directions, back to their booths after the photo shoot maybe. And they he's like, hey, Matt. And Matt's like, yo, dude. And there's this sort of, 30-second interaction between the two of them. And where they're sort of shaking hands. It almost looks like they're having a fight, because they sort of grip each other's hands, don't they, like this. They're actually like, yeah, how you doing, man? But someone's taken a picture at that exact moment. It looks like 9 and 10 are like locked in a sort of arm wrestle sort of thing, doesn't it? Yeah. So it's a great moment that's been captured by so many people, because they're surrounded by people as well. It's literally in the middle of the event, isn't it, that this happened. I think they were just going from one place to the other. So that's nice. It was really cool to see those two doctors meeting like that. And yeah, it looked to me like he was enjoying it. So that's, hopefully that's true. And hopefully that's positive for future events from Eccleston.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yes. So that was good. And obviously meeting Matt, I finally ticked the box. I got my Matt Smith photo at last. I'll tell you what, though, I have noticed just a very minor point about the Matt Smith one, because you didn't get Matt, did you?
I didn't, no.
I've noticed his picture, and this is the same with everybody, because the guy in front of me in the queue was like, oh, I got Matt in the morning, but I'm going back to get it again because, look, it's all blurry. And I looked at his photo and I was like, yeah, do you know what? I said, if I just took a glance at that, I wouldn't think anything of it. If I actually look at it, I said, yeah, you can see it's overlit. You are out of focus. He's like, yeah, I'm going to tell him I want it redone. And I was like, okay. So anyway, when I come out, it made me ultra paranoid. So I immediately looked at my photo, and it's not blurred, but I was looking at Ben Letts as well from Host Productions. This was the same, a little bit. The Matt Smith photo booth just didn't seem, I don't know if it was her camera was lower resolution, I don't know if it's the lighting, but it is nowhere near as crisp as like any of the other photos I've got.
Oh man!
And everyone's the same, and I'm thinking that's weird. It's as if she's on a lower resolution. You know, it's like it's by no means bad. I mean, it just no means bad. It's just when you put it next to my Chris picture, he is like, you can see every wrinkle. Do you know what I mean? You can see every sort of mark on the man's face. But on Matt's, it's a little bit. You know, maybe he's insisted on that Pamela Anderson light. Maybe he's like, yeah, give me the Pam light. You know, I don't know. But yeah, it's not as crisp. But I'm happy with it. I'm so happy to have got a picture with him. And yeah, so overall, it was a good event. I must admit, when I come home, we went down the pub after, as we always do. My favourite bit of the whole day, we all go down the pub, look at our pictures. I've got to admit, I could hear my little heart breaking every time someone got a picture of Tennant out, because everybody, I swear, everybody I was with got a picture with him. So I was a little like, no, it was just one of those things. But yeah, it's like, oh, look at this. All everyone wanted to talk about. Right? It's like he is the Doctor everybody wants to meet. It seems like it's as if like all the others have gone out the window. It's just like, oh my god, who met Tennant? It's just like it's all everyone could talk about. But it is awesome. I mean, just the fact that everyone got to meet all those Doctors at that weekend. It's as I said, Showmasters. You know, whatever you think of it, whatever, they definitely pulled it out of the bag for us Who fans this year.
They definitely did, and I wonder if next year is going to pale in comparison, because I wonder. Yeah, I can't imagine they're going to get all of those just by the law of averages and people's schedules. I can't imagine they're going to get all of those Doctors back again in one weekend. I just can't see it.
I can't see it, mate. I mean, no. I mean, so for me now, I was going for my shoot. So actually, the only Doctors I need photos with are now that are alive are Tennant and Jodie. So that's thanks to Showmasters. I mean, I don't think I ever thought I'd sort of meet them all in one weekend. Do you know what I mean? I managed to tick a lot of boxes this weekend. So yeah, for me, I'm sort of thinking that's good, because it kind of takes the pressure off me. If they do announce a load of Doctors again, I'm thinking, I haven't got to worry about that because I've got them now. They're in the bag. Just got to get Tennant and Jodie if she ever does them. So yeah.
It's a shame they didn't get, because they normally get the usual suspects there. I know Sylve had cancelled. Yeah. But you normally get Nicola Bryant.
There weren't many classic Who guests. We said this, didn't we? No.
Yeah. They normally get Nicola Bryant, Mark Strickson. Bonnie Langford was there, actually.
Bonnie, John Leeson's normally there.
John Leeson, yep. Who else is there?
Louise Jameson often does them. Sophie does a couple. Sophie Aldred. Sarah Sutton. Yeah.
It seemed like they... because that would have been like an epic. That would have gone down as
words. My credit card would have broke. I mean, they had a lot last year, didn't they? We said this last year. They had loads of like classic Who guests, and they were all quite cheap. This year, they've gone for the big sort of new series guests. So that's quite nice in a way, because we've had sort of quite a contrast, haven't we, from last year to this year.
It was funny though. There was when we were queuing up when we were going off to queue up for Ingrid Oliver's autograph. I think it was then in the main sort of autograph section upstairs. It was really funny because you had like a row against the back wall, and there was some American dude who was in some American series doing an American thing. It was an American dude. And then next to him you had David Bradley. Then you had David Duchovny. Then you had some other guy who was like a big Hollywood star. And then you had Bonnie Langford. And then next to Bonnie you had another big star. So for some reason, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but for some reason they had bundled her in with like these big sort of movie stars and these big Doctors. And she must have felt like, crikey, I've got a cracking seat here. Yeah. So hopefully she capitalised on that a little bit and grabbed a few extra autographs. But it was funny.
Actually, it does remind me of what Ingrid Oliver was saying in her talk, because there was only one free talk we could get to this year, wasn't there, which was hers, right at the end of the day on the Saturday. Because last year we went to a great one with McCoy, didn't we? He did a free talk. But there weren't many free talks this year. But Ingrid's at the end of the day was really cool. And the bit that stood out to me was when she talked about the green room at the back. She's like, yeah, we all go to lunch together in a big green room. And she said, I'm just stood there looking around, and there's like, Steven Seagal and David Duchovny eating an egg sandwich, and there's like, Matt Smith, and I was just, no, not Matt Smith because he wasn't there, but you know what I mean? It's like all these people are there, they're all in one room, and I was thinking, God, that Sunday must have been immense with all those doctors in that green room. I mean, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall hearing what they were talking about, sort of Smith going over to Eccleston, oi, why weren't you in the 50th, you miserable old so-and-so? I just can you imagine all the stuff that was going on in that green room? It would have been immense, wouldn't it?
I'm surprised that you said earlier that all the photos clashed and stuff because they had all of the
that
doctors
was weird.
doing it.
Yeah, because that really did that was stressful. Everyone was really doing their night, and those poor guys, the people who have to sort of get you in the queues. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're given any training to deal with this sort of stuff at all. I do feel they're volunteers, aren't they? So they're like basically there to call the batches, but they were just swamped. People were just like, I've got a clash. I've got to get to Chris and Matt are at the same time. What do I do? And they were just like, they didn't know what to do really. I think they basically were just like, it was a free for all, and it's just get in the queue. Everyone get through as quick as you can and hope for the best. And I thought, well, that's a bit of a shame, really. If they're going to get these big stars, I think Showmasters do need to get their organisation together better. That's one thing I would say about it. They really do, especially with the autographs as well this year, mate. Most of my experience this weekend has been positive, but if I was to list things, negatives, it'd be like trying to get autographs this year for any of the doctors, whatever, impossible unless you buy a sort of 250 diamond pass. That's the only way you're going to get it. Like there was just no chance of getting any autographs. I mean, even people like Noel Clark, who's a big star, but you'd think, well, he's there, I should be able to get him. No chance. His queue didn't move past, what was the number on the thing, like 200 or something? It was just like,
it was ridiculous.
It was. That's one thing I would say is, we've been going to Showmasters events for a couple of years now together, haven't we? And I remember, the first one with McGann, remember? We literally were in the queue, 20 minutes? We were there, McGann, done.
Yep.
Yeah. And then this year it's like, no, sorry, you'll have to come back an hour. You'll have to come back at 4 o'clock. It's just becoming so hard to get any autographs. Like photo shoots, you book them, it's not guaranteed, but you've got a very good chance you're going to get that photo. Unless something goes horrendously wrong with clashes and stuff, you've paid for it, you should get it. But yeah, autos, it's becoming near impossible, I think, to get anyone. I mean, on the Saturday, I only got one. That was Ingrid Oliver. It's the only autograph I got all day, So that's one of the things I think it's, frustrating. That's one of the things that got to me on Saturday. But yeah, but overall, it was pretty positive, mate. I as I said, Sunday, really enjoyed it. Come away with my pictures with my doctors and stuff, and was quite happy on the Sunday.
No, it was good overall.
I will do it again, yeah.
Well, of course, we'll do it again, yeah. But
any highs and lows for you?
Yeah, I mean,
to finish off.
Yeah, I mean, a high for me would be Showmasters managing to drag in these big stars this year. So that was really cool, and it does give you an opportunity to stand in the company of greatness, if it's for a few seconds. But so that was really cool. A low for me would be the venue and the organisation a little bit. And I'm not going to dig at the volunteers and those guys because they have been getting a bit of slack, on Twitter and on the forums.
Some of them were a bit rude, but I guess they're dealing with rude people, so it's a bit.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. You hit the nail on the head earlier that these guys don't have any training for this. They don't.
Doesn't seem like it.
They're not employed by Showmasters. They don't have go through all weeks before the event. They don't all go somewhere and they say, right, we're going to implement this queuing system and all this stuff. They just turn up on the day, put a t-shirt on and go and organise people.
Yeah, go and stand there. Yeah.
So I'm not going to dig them out, too much because they're not trained for it. We're making it sound like the MI5 agents or something, but they're not trained for the great British public.
And it is a very stressful environment as well, isn't it, that they have to deal with? Yeah.
Yes. But I do feel like as the event is growing it seems to grow in size every year now. And I mean, I think I mentioned this last week, but I remember going back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I used to just turn up on the day
Yeah, and me.
There was no
I rocked
queue.
up on the day before. Yeah.
I used to turn up on the day, walk into the door and pay £5 to walk in. And then you could queue up with whoever you wanted. There was no of this big virtual queuing system. There was
none of this come back in half an hour or an hour at 4. And also, they need to sort out the aircon because I know it's been incredibly hot in the UK, so I understand it was going to be hot. We knew it was going to be hot because it is anyway. But it's not just for the benefit for the attendees, it's also for the benefit of the guests, because Ingrid Oliver was saying how uncomfortable she was. Wasn't she? She was like, it's really hot in here. And Matt Smith, when I saw him going off to lunch while I was in the queue for Bradley, he just looked like I've got to get out of here. And I was thinking, you want to encourage them to come. You don't want to put these people off. Like, why would they want to sit in a sweat box? They need to. And this is why we keep saying, I think they ought to look at a different venue because, Olympia's cool. It's a great, it's a good venue in terms of how the size of it and stuff. But I think they have outgrown it. If they're going to keep getting these big guests, they need to think about somewhere else. And also, it's an older building. Like we often mention the XL, don't we? It's a good alternative. I just think the facilities are a bit better at XL. You've got that nice chill out area. Like if you want to chill out at, Olympia, you've just got to kind of sit against the wall.
Yeah.
There's no seating area or chill out area at all there, is there? So, I do think maybe they ought to look at alternative venues.
Yeah, I hope so. Because a few years ago, it was fine. But because of the size, like I said, they seem to grow in terms of the high-profile guests that they're getting now. Plus, just the amount of attendees that are there. And the aircon doesn't really work very well, like you said. And there's literally nowhere to go. If you want to chill out for a minute, you either just sit on the floor in the middle of the walkways or against the wall at the walkways, or you leave the venue and go and find somewhere. And and that's great if you're at a smaller convention, fine. But for this sort of thing, they do need, I feel like they need a bigger venue. I don't know where. We mentioned the XL, that would be perfect because the actual, the aircon works in there.
For a start,
And I remember when I went to, in 2016, in 2016 when I went to Star Wars Celebration at the XL, that was a massive event. Huge. Like full-scale TIE fighter models in there, full-scale AT-ATs and massive stages and huge, and it felt like it was just a breeze to get around it. It was so much better. So if they can get in there, then that would be excellent. But one thing I will say is that even if they stay at the same venue, they really need a decent queuing system or a different approach to it. Because I'll tell you what, mate, when we were queuing up for Tennant, just about 20 feet away, Tennant was doing his photo shoot in front of the Tardis. It was the Tardis shoot. Yeah. And you can see the bulbs going off. And over there, they had a problem, in exactly the same problem that we had queuing up for Tennant, in that they do this weird batch zero thing.
Oh, no. That caused mayhem, didn't it?
Yeah. So when you book your ticket online for a photo shoot, you can choose which batch you want to go into. So you can try and alleviate clashes. But they just bundle everybody in to the batch zero. So over at the Tardis shoot, there was no queuing system. So when I bumped into one of our friends, Reese, I said, you getting on all right? He said, no, there's no queuing system. It's just a bundle. So you just sort of, there's a crowd, like hundreds of people. Then they just slowly push forward. And the same thing happened with Tennant. They tried to organise it, but because they were keeping the little area on the floor with the tape so people could sort of, snake into a queue, that then caused congestion on the walkway. And I'll tell you what, if there was a fire or something kicked off there, you're out of luck. There's absolutely no way that you're getting to an exit. There's nowhere to go. Because it's horrific to think, if something was bad to happen, there'd be people would be crushed, and it's just so piled in and congested. So purely from a safety point, I don't mean to be Mr. Old Health and Safety with my hard helmet on, but what I'm trying to say is, if there was a problem, I would have been, because with Matt and Jay Kent, when we were queuing up for Tennant, we were sort of near the front. At the entrance to it. But then there was just a sea of people. So if something kicked off, you were screwed.
Yeah, and it does feel like seeing people because, you know, someone like me, I get very, you know, if you get a huge crowd like that, it's really quite intimidating. I think if you suffer from anxiety or whatever, I think it just is a no-no. It's a bit like when you get big guests like that. Just before we wrap up, mate, just quickly tell me, so which autos and photo shoots did you get at the weekend? Because did you get a few autos?
No, so I kept it fairly chilled. So on the Saturday, I did Ray Park, Noel Clarke for photos. Yeah. And then autograph-wise, I got Ingrid Oliver, and that's it. So that was my Saturday done.
Oh, right.
And then on the Sunday, I got an autograph and a photo shoot with Peter Davison, and the photo shoot in the afternoon with Tennant. And that was me. That was me, mate.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm glad you got Davison because that's the first time you've met him, isn't it?
Oh, he was awesome as well.
Yeah,
really
I like
nice.
Davison.
Yeah. And what did you get, mate?
Just quickly. So I got doctors wise, I got Davison, Eccleston, Smith, and Capaldi. Autograph wise, I got Simon Bradley. I got a really nice print signed by Paul McGann. I had to queue up ages to meet him, and I got Ingrid Oliver. I think those were the only 3 autographs I got. And I did meet Arthur Darvill. Actually, I got a photo shoot with him, and not Who related. Oh, actually, no, he was in Doctor Who. Yeah, I got Richard Wilson. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And I got a really cool auto from him. And you took a great picture. I was so chuffed with the picture you took of the two of us because I met him at Collectomania a few months back. Mm-hmm. Was it this year? I've lost track of the time. Yeah, and I got a professional photo shoot with him, and they just unfortunately caught him just as he stopped smiling, as seems to happen with me a lot. Because all the other shoots, he's like really smiling. So I was always a bit disappointed with that. But you took a picture of us, and he's beaming, isn't he? He's absolutely beaming, smiling. So I was well chuffed with that. So so overall, did pretty well actually. Yeah. I think I'm probably going to. I think I'm still paying for last year's London Film and Comic Con. Actually, I'm sure I'm still paying that off my card. But yeah, this year's hasn't burnt the bacon, but it's burned the credit card.
Yes,
that's for sure. Yeah, in fact, I'm actually genuinely scared to look. I nearly signed in yesterday to see what it was, and I was like, I can't look. I cannot look.
Yeah, it was mental, very pricey, but we'll see how next year goes. See what they can turn up.
It's given me hope, and I'm thinking, like you just said, is they've got to go some to match this year, haven't they? They've really got. They've. I think they've excelled themselves this year. Actually, they must be pleased with themselves. Yeah. And I know we moaned about the prices and stuff, and I think you said it. I guess if you want these new series people, you're gonna have to look around the sort of prices we're paying. It's just not going to happen otherwise. We're not going to get them. So. Yeah, although the prices are high, I hope it means we get more of this because, it's really good to see new series Doctors at a UK con finally, and to get them all like that was incredible. Yeah. It's been a little while coming. I think that's why we just assumed they'd get 1 or 2. The fact they got them all is quite, as you can probably see, I just can't quite believe it. Actually,
it's extraordinary, really.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was our experience at Comic-Con. We have got a few bits of news and merch to go through, so let's land it. First up, let's fast forward to our new upcoming Doctor.
Yeah.
13. We've the BBC have finally released a new promo pic of Jodie titled On Top of the World, and it's essentially her standing on the edge of a cliff by the look of it, looking out onto... Now, I can't quite place this. I'm going to assume, rightly or wrongly, that she's in Wales somewhere because it's very hilly and mountainous, so I'm assuming she's up in the Brecons or somewhere around there, but she's standing on the edge of a cliff. She's looking out, but she's turning around and looking at the camera, and she's got the new Sonic in hand, etc.
Yes.
But it's nice to see Jodie in a different setting other than with special sort of visual effects being whirling around.
Laid over.
Yes. And I'm not sure what this is going to be used on. It would have been really nice to have this really for one of the upcoming calendars maybe, or something like that they could throw in, or the horrific design they use for the upcoming annual. It would have been nice to have this then. But always good to see new official promos, mate.
It is, and do you know what's standing out in this picture for me is the boots.
The boots. Yeah.
I'm loving her boots. She's like rocking these. What are they? They're like...
they're kind of like... they're just... Well, they look like men's...
what do you call them? They're not Doc
boots.
Martin type boots, are they? But
no, they're like a cross between sort of Timberland boots and sort of smarter boots, if you like. They haven't got the really big, thick rubber soles or anything, but
yeah,
they're just sort of normal brown sort of ankle boots, really. But they look like men's boots to me.
They do, but I'm loving it. And funny enough, ever since because there was a lot of 13 Doctor cosplays at LFCC, weren't they? And actually, do you know, I'm really starting to love the costume. A bit like the Sonic. Even the Sonic's growing on me, and I hated it when I first saw it. But actually, that's the thing. We got to compare the UK and the American toy, didn't we? With the Sonic LFCC, because two of our friends have got the US one, and then one of our friends has got the UK one. I don't know if you actually did. You get to see the UK one?
Yes.
I've got to say, now I've seen the two together, I'm sorry to say the US one is much better. It's much smaller for a start. Yep. It's more like the actual, the UK one's just like a big old plastic toy. It's a shame. Anyway, I digress. This new promo image, I'm liking it. I'm loving the coat. I'm just loving our new Doctor, and she's not on screen yet. Please be good. I'm loving her already, so I hope she's good. I'm trying not to get too. I don't want to be disappointed, but yeah. So yeah, it doesn't give us much to go on. It's just her standing on a rock, but it's nice, like you said, to see our new Doctor there in a new promo shot. That was in the new issue of Doctor Who magazine, actually. It was the first page you opened up, and that was inside it was that picture.
Oh, nice.
Which was cool. And just to quickly say, actually, the Doctor Who mag have been doing this text-free covers from the new issue for subscribers.
Oh, you got yours? Yeah.
I got mine, and actually arrived in good condition, unbelievably, because they normally arrive battered. It's really nice, because I wasn't sure if I wanted it or not, but the new cover with Jodie on the front of this month's issue is lovely, and actually as a text-free cover, it's really good, so I'm liking that. Yeah, so loving our 13th Doctor and our promo picks. On to some sad news. Alan Bennion, is that how you would say it?
Bennion, yep.
Bennion has sadly passed away at the age of 88. And Alan appeared in 13 episodes of Doctor Who, playing lots of different Ice Lords and 3 serials featuring the Ice Warriors as well. So sad to see he's gone. So he was in the Seeds of Death, Curse of Peladon, to mention the Monster of Peladon as well, obviously, and as well as Doctor Who, he was in lots of other TV shows as well, like Sexton Blake and Juliet Bravo. Do you remember Juliet Bravo? Oh gosh, what happened to Juliet Bravo? Yeah. And Z Cars. Everyone's been in Z Cars, haven't they?
Everyone from Classic.
And things like that. So sad news. Alan Bennion, our one of our Ice Lords, has gone to the ice planet.
Sadly passed. Yep.
Yeah, sadly passed. Yeah.
Yes. So that's all we've got for news. Now we need to get our metal friend in to see what the bleed now he's got.
Has he got anything good?
Let's have a look.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Well.
You can but hope. Now, I'm not liking the fact that when our metal friend, Grumpy Dalek Tat, dropped this on the floor earlier, he gave a little chuckle as he wheeled himself off.
He did. A little electronic chuckle.
Because he knows. He knows the situation with this particular spin-off.
Yeah.
Class.
Oh, every time I just wish it would go away. Even just saying the name, it's like, God, it's still there, lingering around like one of those flies around my drink. It's just still there.
Well, we perhaps shouldn't judge prematurely.
Go away! Sorry, I'm doing Tegan from the Mara. I've jumped ahead. Yeah.
We potentially shouldn't judge too prematurely because we have got the Big Finish Adventures of Class to look forward to.
True.
So that could be cool.
Right.
Maybe Ace could literally save the day with that one. But not going too far ahead, we have got some class-related merch coming very soon in the form of its soundtracks. I know, mate. I know. So, if you like the music from Class, then you'll be able to order it in 2 versions, no less. So you can pick up the standard CD, and you'll be able to... Oh, no, sorry, the CD is the bonus disc to something else. My apologies.
It's confusing. I must admit, I had to read this twice. I think it's a CD release with bonus disc.
Yes. Well, no, it's the you can't buy the CD on its own. I don't think at the moment. Let's get to the main
I'm confused.
point.
Yeah.
So the main point is they're releasing the Class soundtrack on limited edition vinyl, which looks kind of nice. It's got it's like a 2 LP set. One's bright orange, one is bright blue, and you get the bonus CD with that. So you'll be able to have both formats, I suppose. So I can't remember any of the music from Class. I don't know about you.
No, I can't. I can't remember any of it at all, apart from the awful theme tune. I can't remember any of the music. One thing I would say, though, is it's Blair Mowat who did the music for it. And he did the music for those little promo bits for Series 10 of Doctor Who, you know, with them walking through the library. And the music for that was great. And I seem to remember the music was... I don't remember the music in it, but I think it was all right. Because I quite like Blair Mowat's music. I just can't remember his Class music. So I don't know. There's a chance the music might be good. And I am going to say this. That cover to the vinyl is gorgeous.
Really cool.
I don't know who's done that. That is a really nice cover.
Yeah.
And also, it's one of the vinyls. Is it blue or purple? Because I'm colourblind. Blue.
Yeah.
Blue and orange.
Yep.
Yeah. So the vinyls are coloured. Now, despite my lack of, despite the fact I don't like Class, this looks gorgeous. It's a beautiful piece of merchandise. Just a shame it's for such an awful show, but the music might be good. Because I like Blair Mowat. So
yeah, do you know what it might be?
It's weird. I kind of want it. I do want it, but I don't want to have anything related to Class in my collection because I didn't like it. But I kind of want this. It just looks like a really nice piece of merchandise.
No, I agree. It's a beautiful, especially the cover. We haven't got any pictures of what it looks like on the inside, but I'm assuming as you open it up, it's got some more nice artwork in there, perhaps. But the cover's beautiful, and it could be very good. But the problem is, I don't remember if it's any good or not. So
no, I don't either. No,
I don't know. But if you head over to doctorwhomusic.com/class, you'll be able to check it out, and you can't pre-order it just yet. You can sign up, you can put your email address in and stuff, so that when it does come up to be, when it does become available, you can order it then. But yes,
isn't it weird? This is coming out so long after Class was on the TV, and also it kind of, we still haven't got a soundtrack for Series 10. But we're getting this. It all seems really odd. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. But I am liking it. I really hope Big Finish do a good job with Class, because then I won't feel so weird about buying it, because I kind of love that vinyl cover. I want it, actually. And maybe the music's good, so I might get this, actually.
Maybe.
We'll see what the price is first.
Yeah. There's no release date as yet.
No.
There are some rumours. Some people say this month in August at some point, but you never know.
You're not. I can tell you're not into it at all. You're not getting it, are you?
No, of course not.
No chance. That's going on your shelf.
No.
Okay.
Unless nobody buys it and it's on sale for a £5 at some point, I might pick it up then.
I don't think so.
No. So that's news and merch. Let's crack on with our review this week, buddy.
Oh yes.
Classic Who, hit me.
Stay away! It's Tegan is in full force this time in the Fifth Doctor story, Snakedance.
A toast to the Federation, the person of this charming lady.
Where is the great mind's eye?
The what?
The great crystal from the snake in the chamber.
I beg your pardon, my lady.
Oh, really?
Naturally, I love surprises.
You know where it is?
I certainly do.
Where?
Wherever it is, I can assure you it's perfectly safe.
The Great Crystal is the source of the Mara's power. It needs that power to make itself reoccur. That's why it has returned.
I think we've had enough. Take him away.
Through the Great Crystal, the Mara will reoccur as a physical fact here on Medusa.
Only one thing remains to be decided.
Yes. Me? Oh, I could assist in whatever capacity, using my discretion. Or I could simply forget, whichever and whatever you prefer.
He has served his purpose.
You are no longer necessary.
Look at me.
No, please. What are you doing?
Look at me.
No!
Look at me. I'm not going to harm you. Look at me. That's right. Look at me. Look at me.
Lots of evil laughter in this one. Keep it going, please, Mark.
Lots of classic evil cackling going on.
Yeah, evil cackling. Keep it going.
Snakedance. And in hindsight, we probably should have done Kinder first.
Kindles. The Kindle. Should have done Kindle first. Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe Kindle would have been a good one, but they're not too...
I want to see, when we put it on the list, I thought, we must do Kinder first. And then I thought, actually, it's from a totally different series. So
exactly.
it should stand alone. It should stand on its own. So let's see how that works. So
you know how we do.
Yeah, but I was thinking, it's in terms of the viewers, it's it's the next series. So yeah, it's not. In other words, if Kinder had been right before it, then maybe we should have done Kinder first. But it's a different series, so actually, I think let's see if it stands on its own 2 feet.
We're good. We got this.
Yeah.
So Snakedance was first broadcast back in January 1983.
Good Lord.
I was only a nipper.
Yes.
3 years old, crawling around.
I wasn't born.
No, you weren't. Not yet.
Yes, I was. I was.
Yes, it was broadcast back in the early 80s. It was written by Christopher Bailey, directed by Fiona Cumming, and obviously stars Mr. Davison as the Doctor with Sarah Sutton and Jeanette Fielding. And the story is thus...
Good luck with this.
Tegan is still possessed by the Mara, and she tries to get the big crystal in the hole, and she fails.
Brilliant.
Oh, and Martin Clunes is in it.
Yeah. Looking fabulous.
So Nissa, Jesus Christ. Tegan wakes up from a flying dream. Going crazy. Tegan wakes up, she's had a nightmare. The Doctor's like, whoa, this is not good. Show me what you had in your dream. No, I'm scared. He's like, you will show me. Hypnosis. Right, now I'm going to show you. Takes it to a big cave, looked like a snake. And then from that point on, it's just I can't even.
No, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
So essentially so Tegan is still possessed by the Mara, partly, but it grows in strength, eventually sort of properly possesses her. We get the whole classic horror film, somebody else's voice coming out of her and all that stuff. She sort of co-possesses, or the Mara co-possesses Lon, who is the son of the son/daughter of the previous... what are they called? What was he called?
I just saw him as sort of a royal family on the planet. I don't know if that's what they were meant to be.
Yeah, so he was the son of the Federator. And the Federator was the person who was in charge of the 3-planet Federation. So him and his mum are just doing their thing. He gets sort of co-possessed by the Mara along with Tegan, and between the two of them, they convince the what's his name?
Oh, what the little
Ambril,
Ambril,
who's like the sort of historian,
collector,
architect, archaeologist kind of guy who collects all the stuff from the Samaran period where the Mara was very much a thing before the Federation banished it, along with the snake dancers with crystals. I can't even go on any further, mate.
I know it's mad. I was thinking that while I was watching this, good luck with the synopsis tomorrow, Gary. That's why I let you do them.
Yeah, so Lon dupes Ambril into bringing the real crystal to the festival so that he can take it and put it into the slot in the hole in the cave, and then the Mara can come back. But then the Doctor sort of all of a sudden learns how to commune with, what's his name? Dojin, the sort of banished snake dancer who was once the guy who was there before Ambril, and then he manages to sort of make a solid, calm state in his mind that the Mara can't penetrate, and then it collapses and oozes out and dies, and crikey.
And then it's like the quickest ending in history, isn't it? It's like, cut. Cue music.
Cue the music.
It's the end. That's Snakedance.
It's a 4-parter that should be a 2-parter, basically.
Yes.
There's my opinion on it.
Let's
go to scores. What did you think to Snakedance?
Yeah, I'm going to surprise you. I do agree with you, actually. I do agree with you. And I was kind of dreading this. I was thinking, oh dear. Snakedance is not a story I gravitate towards very often. So I think I may have only watched this twice before. Once would have been back in 1983 when it was on the TV, believe it or not. I would have watched it again when the DVD came out. I think I watched it with the commentary. So watched it last night for the first time in goodness knows how long. And I was pleasantly surprised by some of it, actually. I'll be honest with you. I was expecting it to. I was thinking this is going to be a slog. And it does become a slog around episode 3. Yeah. But no, I was quite engaged by the first 2 episodes, actually. I'll be honest with you. I thought, actually, this is not bad stuff, actually. This is really quite creepy. And who's doing the soundtrack? Is it Peter Howell? His music's fantastic in this. It really adds to the quite unsettling nature of this story. So I was on board, actually. I was surprised myself. I was like, actually, I'm thinking this is going to be one of those pleasant little surprises that, I thought was rubbish, and it's actually quite good. It does take a dip in episode 3.
Yeah.
And episode 4... it is better, but it does end really abruptly. But what I'm going to say is, so overall, I actually quite enjoyed this an awful lot more than I was expecting. But I will say this: you have to be in the mood for it, and it is not one for the casual viewer.
Not at all. No,
because half the time I didn't have a clue what was going on, and the reason I enjoyed it was because I was sort of I liked the whole. I thought Tegan was given something good to do for a change part, it's a juicy part. So I was so there were bits of it I really enjoyed. There's some nice performances in it as well, actually, which I hadn't sort of remembered, which we'll get into. So it wasn't the shambles I was expecting, but in terms of I'll introduce you to Doctor Who. I've got a good story for you. This is not one of them because it's, as I said, it's not for the casual viewer, and I still don't really understand. I mean, we keep cutting back to this guy in the desert. I'm still not sure how the Doctor finds him. Anyway, it's as confusing as hell. Let's put it that way. But I don't know. I've found a slight new love for it, actually. Yeah, right. for a few reasons, but it's not perfect. Yeah. Okay. No means perfect. So that's my thoughts. Yeah. A mixed bag, as we like to say.
Yeah. I'm going to surprise you a little bit here.
Oh.
I know you like surprises.
I do.
I was in a very similar situation to you. I'd watched it when I very first bought it on DVD years ago, and thinking, it just felt like a slog. And it felt like it could have been one of those really cool little, in Tom's era, we get those cheeky little 3-parters now and then. It felt like it could have been much more suited to that shorter running time.
Definitely.
Excuse
me.
Because
episode 3 really brings it down. So I kept thinking that this has been going quite well now, till now. Yeah.
But then when I watched it last night, I thought, as, time does, it kind of, because memory and nostalgia provide a bit of a buffer in your brain that gives you sort of a preconception before you go into something, if that makes sense. It's like, you don't really focus and remember all of the little details of a story. If you haven't watched it in years, you just remember either it was really good or you remember all the bad bits.
Yes.
So your mind sort of buffers your memory. But when I watched it last night, like you, I thought this is actually pretty good. It's really creepy. It's one of the scarier.
It's really creepy.
Yeah, one of the scarier Davison stories. But one thing that I was quite not disappointed with, but one thing that I really wanted to have more of was actually the Doctor. And I really like Davison. Yeah, as you know, I'm a big fan of his Doctor. But I just feel like Davison was really flat in this one.
Oh no!
Yeah. And I have great respect for Mr. Davison and his acting abilities and him as the Doctor, as you know. But for some reason, I just thought, pretty much every scene. I mean, it's one of those episodes, and one of our, I'm pretty sure one of our listeners commented on this in one of the Twitter or Facebook. I can't remember. We'll come on to those later. But he does this thing in some of his stories where it's almost like he's out of breath all the time. And I just found that the majority of the scenes he was in, unless he was sort of running 10 feet down the market lane, which only happened a couple of times, he's just kind of standing there a lot of the time. A lot of his scenes are just him standing there and he's just having a conversation. And I just wasn't drawn to him as I am with, the majority of the other stories that he's in. And so, that was for me the one bit that I felt could have really boosted this story up a bit, was just a bit more animation from Davison. I just wanted him to be a bit more, because the only bit that he really kind of, you see him go for it is at the very end where he's concentrating on the crystal, where Tegan's sort of inside, she's sort of superimposed into the snake's head. And she's saying to she's having a bit of a one-on-one with the Doctor in their mind sort of thing.
Yeah.
He's kind of going for it then, but still he's not really giving us, full-on Doctor that we've seen in some of his other stories. So, I mean, I can't pick out a scene where Davison's actually doing anything other than just talking to people. I don't know am I missing that?
Well, I'm quite surprised to hear you say that. Yeah, because one of the things I thought was how good Davison was in it. No, really? Genuinely, I really thought, because I'll tell you, I'm really shocked you've said that, because we've said before you can often tell if Davison isn't into a script. You can sort of see that he's just not giving it 100%. And I was thinking, this is one where he's really into it. It's interesting though, because watching the little documentary after, this was the first story he recorded after deciding not to carry on as the Doctor. So he's given his notice and then he's gone in to record this. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So, no, I'll tell you why I thought he was into it. It's because I love all the stuff at the start where he's really pushing Tegan and he's quite stroppy. And I wrote down that he's almost channeling the First Doctor a bit. He's very... Because people often say, Davison's really dull and needs, and I was thinking, I thought he was quite strong at the start because Nis is telling him off all the time. Doctor, you're going too far, He's like, no, cut, I thought he was really into it. And he's, I don't know. I didn't get that at all, mate. I thought he was really good in it. The only thing I would say is in episode 3 where they're in that prison for nearly the entire episode, he that does get dull and he, like you said, he's doing nothing and he's just he does look bored, but then I think the viewer's bored because oh come on, they've been in the prison the whole episode, get out. So I don't know, mate, I didn't get that. I actually thought Davison was one of the plus points for me in this. I thought he was pretty good, actually. Yeah,
because he seems to.
No, I didn't know, because he's like, there's scenes where he's like bursting into the office and he's having a go at old Ambril and stuff like that. And I don't know. For me, he kept the pace up, but I don't know. I got a different vibe.
Yeah, do you know what? It's not that I feel like he wasn't into the story, because a couple of stories, and you can tell it a mile off. You can tell when he's not. You can tell when he doesn't really like a story and he doesn't, he's not feeling it. And I'm not saying that he had that same feeling on this. I just felt like he was in the same, like the beginning scene when he's in the TARDIS and he's really, like you said, pushing Tegan to go into this, deeper into a dream and stuff. Yeah, he's good. Don't get me wrong, he's good. And at the end, when he's focusing on the crystal, he's really going for it and stuff. But for me, I just felt like the majority of the scenes that he was in, he's just standing there with his hands in his pockets the whole time, and he's just talking normally. I just felt like I just wanted a bit more. Selfishly, I wanted a bit more McCoy, Matt Smith about him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just wanted him to be animated more instead of just walking through the scene with his hands in his pockets, which he seemed to do an awful lot, and just talking a lot. I just wanted more out of him. Yeah,
I get it. It was because it's quite a limited in its sets as well, isn't it? Story like you said, that Market Square. They've only got that one tiny little set which they use a lot.
Yeah.
The cave and the TARDIS at the begining. It's very, very limited in terms. It's quite. What's the word I'm trying to find?
Restrictive.
Yeah. It's I do get where you're going, but yeah, it's interesting because as well, this is from series 2 for Davison, so it's Davison's second series as the Doctor, and he's famously on record as saying, isn't he, that he sort of, this is where he decided, no, I'm going, and then he did series 3. And he really liked a lot of the stories in Series 3. And he said, didn't he? Like, if I'd have got more stories like that in Series 2, I probably would have stayed. Mm-hmm. So I think you're right. This is the sort of series where he perhaps was thinking, right, I'm not sure. I've done a series. I think I'm off already. So, and then obviously he got more into the Doctor again in Series 3. So it's interesting you say that. But no, I liked him in this. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of him, though. Yeah. I agree, because Tegan very much takes center stage in this story, and which is nice. As I said, it's good for Tegan to get something other to do than just constantly moan about, can you get me back to Heathrow, Doctor? Like, she's actually given something to do. I mean, she does spend a lot of the story possessed, but she does it quite well, actually, and the voice thing is really creepy and quite well done, because sometimes when they do this thing where actors are, I guess they're mixing her voice, but I think there's a bit where Martin Clunes sort of has to lip sync to someone else's dialogue, and they do it quite well for the time, actually. It is chilling. It's properly creepy, but it's just that, unfortunately, by the time we get to episode 3, they start, and I think this comes back to what you're saying about Davison, they start sort of doing the same things over and over again. So, like, Tegan starts saying for the 100th time, you will obey me, sort of thing. You do what I say, and you sort of think, yeah, we get it, you're possessed. We need to move the story on a bit now. And Davison's locked in that prison, and he's run around the Market Square 400 times. And so, yeah, it does start to feel a bit repetitive, I think, by episode 3. Yeah. So, I can see what you're saying about the Doctor there. Like you said, it would have been this. Davison had a couple of great little 2-parters, in my opinion. I like Black Orchid and stuff. So this, I think, would have been a great 3-parter.
Yes.
Yeah, just needed to cut out all that repetitive stuff in episode 3 and all the prison, and this would have been a cracker. And also, it's really the edits are really quick. They've tried to make it really fast paced, but actually, it just makes it even more confusing. Like, the scenes are so short. Every little scene just cuts. They have a couple of words of dialogue, cut to another thing, back to that same shot, back to it cuts far too much. And I'm watching, and I was thinking this all the way through, like, it's really fast paced, but actually it's too fast paced because it's confusing as hell. And I watched a little making of documentary, and the writer Christopher Bailey said, he kind of wrote it. He's more experienced in writing in a sort of play style, so a lot of the scenes he wrote were quite long. So if you take the scene where Tegan goes to see the crystal ball lady, right? So imagine that's not cut into like 20 different scenes. It's played out as one scene, right? That's how it was written. And it would have made the story more cohesive, I think. But Eric Sayward came in as script editor and just said, come on, we've got to, you can't have these long scenes. It's not a play. So he chopped it up and made all those long scenes, which explained the story over time in a sort of nice, sort of fluent way. Saywood's come in and chopped it up to make it a fast action TV show. And for me, that kind of, I think it could have got the balance better. It would, by all means, chop a few scenes up. But for me, the scenes are too chopped up. Like it halfway through, you're thinking, blimmin' heck, like you're out of breath. You're thinking, what's going on in this story? It's all over the place. So I think it would have been nice if they'd have let a few of the scenes breathe a bit more. But it seems that was down to Eric Saywood as the script editor. He literally chopped it up to try and make it fast paced. But imagine it as Christopher Bailey sort of envisaged it as this scene's explaining the stories, like all the stuff with Lon and his mum. He's explaining the story, isn't he? But it's chopped up, so you get all these little scenes in between. So actually, you lose the thread, I think, and I think that's why it's so confusing. If you see what I mean. Yeah,
and I get you. I mean, I really like the backstory. So the whole everything that happened on Menusa and all that stuff with the Mara and the Federator and the snake dancers and all that stuff. It's
creepy as hell.
Yeah, it's cool enough. It was a really cool sort of almost historical element to it. Sort of fictional, history that's being fed to us, which is really cool. It just seemed to go on for a long time.
Yes.
It would have been handy to have got all that stuff out the way in the first episode. So as a viewer, it's like, right, okay, I get what's going on. This is a bit of history about what's going on, but we're now in this situation and now we need to do this to resolve it, kind of thing. And then have the Doctor and Nyssa locked up in sort of the last 10 minutes of episode 2 and then go straight into episode 4. That would have been a cool story arc, because I'm pretty sure that in episode 3 not a lot happened anyway.
No, it's not. It's that's what I mean. They just keep doing the same thing over again. It's Tegan possession, Doctor in the cell, Tegan possession, Doctor in the cell. A little bit more explanation about the statue, which we've already heard. It does. It just keeps going over the same themes in episode 3. And like you said, we already know all that. So get out. Just get rid of that stuff and cut to the chase. Yeah, because it's like you said, the actual backdrop and story I think is really good in Snakedance. That's what surprised me about it. Now I've kind of reevaluated it and sort of I probably zoned out a lot, I think. I mean, I certainly wouldn't have got this as a kid, mate. I would have been what was it, 1983?
Yeah.
So 7, 8 years old. I wouldn't have had a clue what was going on at that age. I literally wouldn't know what was going on. I mean, I don't know what's going on at this age. You know what I mean? It's like, so to rewatch it again, there is a good story there, but man, I would not have got this as a kid.
No.
I can only barely get my head around it as an adult. So, but it is good. Like I said, once you do get the flow of the story and all the stuff with the Mara and the fact it's 500 years later after Kinder and all that stuff. So it's good stuff, really. The actual story, it's just, I'm not sure it's quite translated onto screen 100%.
Yeah. And we did have sort of another element in there, the sort of kind of espionage. The character Chela, played by Jonathan Morris.
Yeah,
he was quite cool. We had him who was sort of bought into the whole Snakedance thing and the crystals and all that, and it was sort of at odds with Ambril, because Ambril, he just dismisses the whole lot every time, doesn't he? He's like, oh, it's a load of nonsense,
Yeah.
And Sheila's more like, actually, no, there's more to it. And these little clues pop up. And a really weird scene as well, where Ambril basically finds a really big clue to the whole thing. That was, he finds the diary or the ledger of Dojin, his predecessor. And on the last page, he recounts something that the Doctor had said to them, and it all sort of matches up. And it's like, hold on a minute, this is the clue.
Yes.
This is the thing that's going to link it all together. And even then, he's like, oh, it's still poppycock and all that. So
silly old fool.
Yeah, so you have that going on with Chela as well. He's not really a supporter of the Snake Dancers, but he kind of he has a feeling, doesn't he, that he believes. He's a believer almost.
Yeah.
And, so he sort of aids the Doctor in for a little while in episode 3, and busts them out, and then
eventually
and on they go. Yeah. So I mean, that forever as well. But so we do have these other cool little elements in there. that run alongside the main story, because we also have Lon's mum, don't we?
Yeah.
Tana. And she's almost on the fence in a couple of places. You know, she's got this sort of wise old mumness about her. She knows what's going on. She knows her son very well. But then when she discovers that he's not quite himself, she begins to suspect, and she knows something's going on. But she doesn't really do anything either. She just goes. She
doesn't do much, does she? No, it's a shame actually. I feel like there's a nice performance from her, but I feel like there's a good character sort of wasted there, because all she really does is sort of tell Lon off for being such a stroppy son, doesn't she? She's like, "You coming to the party?" "No, I'm not." "Oh, stay there then, you miserable so." So yeah, but I actually thought she did quite good in the part, and quite, just a sort of wasted character, really. It didn't go anywhere. Like you said, doesn't get nothing to do at all, really. Yeah. Does she save the Doctor? No. So, there's that weird cliffhanger to episode 3 where suddenly, like, "Kill them!" And Nyssa screams so loud that the TV picture distorts. I don't know if you noticed that. Normally that happens when you get gunfire.
Yeah.
But she obviously screams so loud. Who walks around the corner and stops? Because that is like a typical... Right, we must have a cliffhanger now, and then it's diffused within seconds. Someone just walks around and goes, "Stop!"
Yeah,
and then that's over. They're not getting killed. It's not her, is it?
No, I think it's.
No, it might be Ambrose or something.
I think
Ambrose's possessed, is he? I don't know.
No, he's not. No, but I think he. Yeah, I can't remember. I
can't remember. I guess it's a shame actually, because one of the things I thought when I was watching this yesterday was the first cliffhanger is brilliant. I was like, when it finished, that crystal ball explodes with the skull coming out, I thought, blimmin' heck, this is good stuff, actually. Why have I not, have I not watched this? But, why do I consider this so bad? This is really good, because it's a great cliffhanger to episode 1. Can't remember the cliffhanger to episode 2. Maybe it's not that good. Can't remember it. And then you get the sort of really typical Doctor Who cliffhanger to episode 3 with "Kill them!" And then it's like, no, stop. Oh, okay then. Yeah. And so it's a shame actually. It does fizzle out actually. The more I think about it, it does fizzle out, doesn't it? It's all, there's all good stuff in there, but it just doesn't quite grasp all those brilliant elements and pull them together. It's funny because the ending is so abrupt as well, because the story massively overrun. Which they just literally had to cut the end scene off. So it just ends, doesn't it, with Davison saying to Tegan, "It's okay, the Mara's dead." When it cuts but there was a whole 2-minute scene of explanation after that, which I think was really needed.
It was.
You do it does end, and you do sit there and think, what the blimmin' heck was all that about? What was that about? And then they do slightly give a recap at the beginning of the next story. Is it Mordrin Undead?
Mordrin Undead.
Yeah, so for the faithful viewer that stayed on for that one, they do give something to you about this story. But yeah, it's a shame. It massively overrun. And I think that they should have cut stuff out of episode 3. I know I keep banging on about it, but it needed the explanation and stuff at the end, which they had to cut for timing reasons. I don't know why they didn't junk half the prison stuff and put that in. It seems strange. Maybe they just couldn't get the cliffhanger in the right place if they did that. I don't know. But yeah, it does end very abruptly, this story, because of it overrunning.
It does. And it does end very sharply as well, because the Mara's sort of manifested itself as a physical snake at this point, hasn't it? And
yes.
And when it can't take over the Doctor's mind, and the Doctor defeats it with the aid of Dojin.
Yeah,
via the crystals, and the snake sort of falls to the ground, and it's got this pink ooze coming out of it. They've tried to make it look like it's it's dying right there, and the Doctor sits next to Tegan, and she's crying her eyes out. She's a good performance from Jeanette Fielding. She's really sort of bawling her eyes out, and but yeah, it's just the Doctor says, "Oh, don't worry, it's over now."
Cue the music.
It literally is like that, isn't it? It's kind of, and it almost sort of dilutes the impact of what we've just seen, because
it does, because you're like, what?
Yeah, because it's a bit like it's a bit like being held at gunpoint when you're out somewhere, and then you think you're going to get robbed, and this is going on for 5 minutes, and then the person lifts up their balaclava and it's your mate, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just joking," and then you go off and have lunch. You know, it's sort of, everything, that horrific ordeal you've just been through is now just a joke because it's your mate saying, "Oh, it's over now, it's fine, it was just a prank."
Just
a
like, joke.
"Oh, whatever, you," and then you're off. It kind of feels like that at the end. It's like, because the Doctor's essentially just saying to us as the viewer as well, "Well, that story's done now."
Yeah,
that's what it feels like. It's like we've entertained you for a little while, but yeah, we're off now.
That's that then. Sort of, off we go.
Yeah.
If you do want to see the scene that should have been at the end, thankfully it's on the DVD, so you can watch it how it should. Well, you can watch the scene that would have gone on the end and finish the story if you want to. It's about 2 minutes long. It's on the DVD, so yeah, it would have been nice to have included it, but back in the day they got to keep it under 25 minutes, so
sorely needed.
Chop.
Yeah. And I like the whole festival thing that was going on as well. So the whole point of the big street festival and stuff that was going on and all that. So the whole planet is basically in like its 500th sort of celebratory year, if you like, of the Mara being destroyed. So that's why there's a lot of sort of circus stuff going on, and crystal balls and House of Magic Mirrors and all that malarkey. So I really liked that as well, because it just sort of aided to the whole history of everything. It sort of brought a bit of credibility, because it would have been very easy for one of the actors just to say, "Oh yeah, we're celebrating 500 years," and then you have to buy into it, and then you didn't see anything to back it up. So I like that the whole place is going through it, and we get
it ties it nicely into Kinder, doesn't it?
It does.
All that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to know about Kinder, but it does tie it nicely in if you do.
Yes, yeah. And we get some exposition as well at the beginning between Lon and Tana. So she's sort of telling us, as well as him, the story of that stuff, because he's got that sulky, miserable, spoilt royal bratness.
Spoiled brat.
Going on, and he's like, he's almost like, "Tell me a story, I'm bored." So she gives him the story of all of that stuff, which is kind of cool. So I like how they sort of fleshed out it was a shame that they, obviously being Classic Who, they didn't have enough budget to build any larger sets. But what they did build was reasonably okay, just a little bit restrictive and claustrophobic at times, because the sets were really narrow as well. Like the street scene with the stalls and little circus tents was really narrow.
What do you think of the sets in this? Because it's totally studio based, this story, and I sometimes get a bit. I always like to have a bit of location, but I actually thought the sets, they are limited, but I actually thought they were quite good in this. Actually, they sort of not too overlit, like the cave and stuff, and I didn't think they were too bad. They are very limited. I mean, it seems like they've got 4 or 5 sets. I think one of them, what do they say on the making of? They had to use the set from, it's not Eurovision, but it's something else, something very similar to that. They were that looks futuristic. We'll borrow that because we haven't got any money to make a set. So there's a bit of Eurovision set or something in there. It's not Eurovision, but anyway. But overall, I thought actually it looked pretty good for the time. Like the cave set, that I like that design of the wall. It's got like these snake in stone. I thought that's pretty good. And the market set, it's very basic, but it just, I don't know, for sort of suits Doctor Who of that era, I think, with all the drapes and stuff. So it wasn't too bad. Even the prison set, which is really basic.
Yes.
It's unbelievably basic, but it's got this weird angled front to it, which just makes it slightly interesting. I thought, okay, that's, I like that. It's, So I think in terms of the sort of the production wise, it's, I think it looks pretty decent actually for the time.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's. I'm glad you mentioned the prison bars. Just by angling them forward like that, it gives it
so simple,
a strange sort of feel to it. But overall, I mean, the sets were I found the street stalls and everything quite good.
Yeah,
and inside the tents and so on, they were quite good. I just didn't find the cave that well done, purely because it's just a cave at the end of the day. It's not meant to be like this lavish, huge set, but they were okay. It was just a bit, I mean, in terms of their design, they were very good. It was just the scale that was felt really tiny.
It does. It definitely feels restricted. I mean, sets aside, I think you were saying earlier about how your mind cherry picks what it remembers about a story. You know, so I mean, poor old Martin Clunes, he does get absolutely weighed down, for example, in his costume, because you know, some of them, they are so over the top, aren't they? You know, that cloud thing he has to wear at the end with the big gold hat. And it's a shame, really, because those are the things I remember about the story when I think about it. But you know what? The performances from the cast in this are really good on the whole, I think. But they get totally overshadowed by the costumes. I mean, Martin Clunes, actually, I think, gives a really nice performance in this. It's his first TV role as well, which I didn't realise that. It's the first thing he's done for television. So he seems quite confident, considering it's, you know, his lack of experience, if you like, in front of the camera. So in my mind, I always think he's awful in it, because I picture him in those costumes and he's very bratty and stuff like that. But watching it again yesterday, I thought, actually, he's giving quite a nice performance. He is playing the sort of part of the spoilt brat. But I don't think he goes over the top. I think it's just the fact he's sort of, you know, he's sort of weighed down with all this awful costume. It just overshadows his performance a bit, I think. You know, I don't know. What did you think of him in it? Or did you think he was a bit... Because, as I said, it's his first TV role, but I thought he was all right. Especially when he's possessed. I thought he was quite good. Yeah, I thought it was a solid performance, to be honest with you. I thought he's got John Nathan Turner all over him. You can tell, can't you? Oh, yeah, the earrings, the campness. It's a shame, actually. The clothes are very camp, Yeah, so you can tell that JNT has sort of put his stamp on this character. You can tell that from anywhere. But no, I thought his performance was actually very good, considering, because I was surprised. Like, is this his first time on TV? I thought he'd been around for years before this, but no, he's pretty good. And he probably hates it as well, because there was a time when they used to dig this clip out, didn't they? They used to sort of, you know, on the TV shows, like, you know, where did we see them first, sort of thing, and they would dig out this clip of him coming around wearing that cloud top and the shot of him with the earring and stuff, and it is very cringe. And like I said, it's a shame, because that's what people will remember is that, rather than actually the fact he's giving a really nice performance under all that get up, you know. Yeah. Anything you want to mention, sort of story wise, before we talk about a few of these other characters? No, I'm cool with the story. I think we've covered it. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so the guys that were in the street tents, the performers. So the crystal ball person, the fortune teller, quite a small part. Hilary Sester. Yeah, but quite good, I thought, because I liked her. Like you said, I thought she was quite good as a sort of a side character. She was all right. She was, she sort of, one thing that I did like about that scene, and the way that this and the other guy, Dugdale, the way that those characters were written, I like the fact that she opens up to Tegan that it's all a load of nonsense. Because I thought that they were trying to make money and it's all meant to be authentic and stuff. And she's having quite a nice little chat with Tegan. She's like, oh, you're feeling better now because you passed out, sort of thing. And she's like, oh, it's just a bunch of nonsense, really. I look into the ball and make stuff up. And because it would have been easy just to sort of try and portray them as these authentic, you know, people. But I like that bit, because because it makes it even better when Tegan says, really, have another look. And then you get that skull coming out and she's like, ah, screaming her head off and stuff. So that was a nice little bit of writing, I think, that, you know, the fact that the fortune teller herself is just dismissing it all. And then Tegan's cruelly does that to her. So, I thought it was a nice piece of writing. And a nice performance, what about Dugdale then? The guy who runs the crazy mirrors, who gets caught up in it all. Is that Brian Miller? Brian Miller, yes. Now, here's a performance I've really enjoyed, because, again, I've completely forgotten about him in this until now, and I think he'll stick in my mind. Actually, I haven't rewatched this, because I thought Brian Miller was great in this. A really nice performance from him as this sort of he's supposed to sort of be in charge of whatever it is, the Hall of Mirrors, isn't he? So he's quite fun to begin with, and then he gets drawn into it and stuff. So I really liked him. I thought he was good. Yeah, and I felt sorry for him when they're sort of taunting him and he's hiding behind his hat and stuff. So Brian Miller went on to marry Elizabeth Sladen, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
And he was also in Deep Breath as the tramp that meets the Doctor. So he's got a bit of a connection to Doctor Who over the years, which is nice. So, but yeah, I really liked him in this. I was really surprised when he popped up because I couldn't place him at first as well. I was like, oh, no, now where do I know that face? And then it all fell into place once I saw the name. So yeah, I thought he was really good in this. Liked him a lot. Liked the character.
Yeah, he had a great performance, I feel, as well, because at the beginning he's a sort of happy-go-lucky. Yeah, having a bit of a laugh, and
that's it. Yeah, come on in.
Yeah, and but just even his performance then at the beginning, he still had this, because a lot of the actors in this are very, very British, aren't they?
Yeah, so this is that era, isn't it, where everyone talks a very BBC British accent.
Yes. So even though they're on an alien planet, light years away in a different galaxy somewhere, in a different time, they still speaking, very fluent. Proper old English. And the way that he does it is really well done, because he's got like these arm actions and stuff, and he's quite, he's a bit of a salesman. He's trying to get people in. And then he sort of transforms as the story goes on. So towards the end, he's just this sort of lackey, really. He's sort of, he's complete opposite of when we saw him at the beginning of the story, and he plays both ends really well. So I thought it was a great performance from Brian Miller. Really good.
I did. And we sometimes talk, don't we, about these little side characters that sort of stand out in stories. And for me, he was one of them. I thought, a really nice little performance from him. Yeah.
Sheila, then. I know we mentioned him before, Jonathan Morris, the guy that helps the Doctor.
Yeah. Again, better than I thought, because I thought I remembered him as being a bit wet, because Jonathan Morris tends to play these characters that sort of walked all over and stuff. And no, actually, he was not too bad, because he sort of had a good line between sort of doing a little bit of comedy, because there's not much in this, to be fair. Like when he's sort of accidentally telling the Doctor too much, and Ambrose telling him off. And it was sort of just these little side sort of glances and stuff. So I actually thought Jonathan Morris was not bad in this at all. Davison says that he didn't seem very happy on set on the making of. This is the thing I love about Davison on the DVDs. He's so honest and just tells it how it is. And I think he says actually that Jonathan felt his part should have been bigger or something. But no, I thought he was quite good now, actually.
Yeah, not bad.
For what he does, yeah.
Not bad. What about the old dude that just meditates the whole time, Dojin?
Well, he doesn't say a word, does he?
He does, sort of through his mind to the Doctor. Yes. Yeah.
So I was imagining getting the script and it just being a blank page. So, not much for you to say, but you do get to do this, and you do get to go to Ealing and be filmed on film. So, actually, to be fair, he's good casting, because he really looks the part, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
He looks like a wise old meditator. Actually, he might not say a lot, but I think he's, again, great casting, actually. He does totally look the part. Yeah,
he does indeed.
Yeah,
but he does have a few scenes where he opens his eyes, which is good.
Yeah, so he gets to do the snake bite when Davison has to handle those little weird thin snakes, and Davison hated doing that. It's another thing he talks about in the DVD commentary. He's like, I've really hated. I didn't want to touch those snakes, even though they told me they were, weren't venomous. And they do cut between real snakes and rubber snakes quite a lot in this story, don't they? So there's a bit where the Doctor has to pretend to be bitten by one, and it's cuts from a real snake to. I don't know if you noticed the cut, mate, because it's so subtle. Thank God he didn't have to wrestle with it.
Yes,
in typical sort of style. But he's good.
He is good, actually.
Yeah,
for what he has to do.
He is. Yeah.
What about Ambrose then? John Carson.
Yeah.
Just really on point throughout the whole story, really.
Yeah.
Just that very shouty, typical old English sort of not buying into anything, sort of, stands by his values and his beliefs, and no one's going to change that. And I just thought he carried it really well. Even at the beginning where Lon is smashing the old things on the ground and obviously, he's distraught by that. He's still almost got this sort of stiff upper lip and...
Yeah.
So I just thought it's one of those consistent performances, really. So from beginning to end, he was in the character, fully.
Yeah, I liked him as well because, again, there's not much humour in this story, but he does add a nice little humour element to it in his performance about sort of taking us out of the creepiness. So I liked him as well. I really like that scene between him and the Doctor where the Doctor's making him wear the hat with all the heads.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, no, there's only 5. He's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, and yours 6. And he's like, oh, how did I not realise? And all this sort of stuff. So that was a really nice scene, I thought, between the two of them. And he just adds a little bit of light relief, I think, without being silly. Because like you said, you really feel sorry for him, actually, when Lon is smashing all his relic plates, because he's so pleased, isn't he, when he sees them? He's like, oh, a treasure trove. And then Lon starts smashing them, and he's heartbroken. So I thought it was a nice performance from him. And also it's been driving me mad where I kept thinking his costume's familiar. He looks like another character. Now I might be wrong because I haven't checked this, but I think he's wearing some of the clothes from, what's the story, 4th Doctor's story. It's gone. It's the first one in the Key to Time. It's a story I don't think I like, but I haven't watched it for years. The one in the snow. Can't think what it's called. Our listeners will know. I think he's wearing a costume from that, but I might be completely wrong. It does look so familiar.
He could be.
I kept thinking all the way through. I think it's the costume. The guy's wearing that great big hat or something. Oh, I don't know. I'm getting confused. It's so long since I watched it, but it looked very familiar, his costume anyway. I'm sure it's from another story, but I could be wrong. What is that called? I'm going to Google it quickly. Key to Time. It's not Rebus Operation, is it? It's the one before. In the Snow. I'm looking at it now. I'll come back to it. Oh, it is Rebus Operation, yeah. It is Rebus Operation.
You could be right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody out there will know, but it just struck me that it looks similar to a costume from that. But
okay. Yeah, you could be
they
right.
don't mention it in the making of, I don't think, so I don't know.
We've spoken about Tana and Lon. What about Nyssa and Tegan then? Those guys, because 2 very different roles in this one, because sometimes those 2 are kind of like best buds almost in a lot of their stories.
They are, which is why I quite liked, again, I really liked the fact we got Nyssa and the 5th Doctor sort of paired up together in this. I think they work really well.
Yeah.
Poor old Sarah does suffer the same fate as Martin Clunes, though, in the costume department. Her outfit is awful in this. Yeah. It looks like Andy Pandy. Yeah. And there's a scene at the beginning where she comes out wearing it, like all happy, and the Doctor's not taking any notice, and she keeps trying to get him to notice and all that sort of thing. I mean, how could you not notice it? It's horrific. I don't know who was the costume designer on this. Anyway, it's a bit eye-catching to say the least, and I don't know if she wears it again. I certainly don't remember it, but I think her performance is good. Nyssa, as I said, I think her and Davison work really well together.
I do.
It's lovely to see those 2. It's good to get sort of Janet Fielding out of the way because, like you said, they often pair Tegan and Nyssa up, don't they? And they normally don't give them anything to do, so it's good to have them split up for a change. Tegan, I think, is great in this. I really, really like Janet Fielding's performance in this. I think she was probably pleased to be given something to do, and she grabs it and goes with it, I think. So I think they're both very strong in this story. Again, it's much better than I remember. And also there's I just think it's nice to give Tegan a bit something a bit different to do, because normally if someone's possessed, it normally gets boring very quickly. It's like, possession again. But I think she does it really well. She really suits being this sort of possessed character, I think. So very good performances from both, I thought.
No, I completely agree, mate. I thought I thought Janet Fielding had a cracker of a story in this one. She took on the possessed role really well. It's really creepy when she goes from being scared Tegan to this sort of evil little laugh and stuff. She does it very, very well. Alarmingly well.
There's the dream stuff at the start and all that. It's really good in it. Yeah.
And this, Sarah Sutton, very, very good with Davison. It's just those blimmin' outfits. It's
the outfits, yeah. I don't know who it was. Hopefully it wasn't June Hudson, because I love June Hudson, but I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
I hope not, no.
And we've spoken about Davison, but let's just finish off with him. So,
so slight difference of opinion on Davison in this one, but
yeah. I think, like, for example, I thought that he was, quite a bit better in Mordrin Undead. By the time we get around to that, I think he's very good in that. And even Arc of Infinity, the story before this one, I thought he was very good in that. But in this one, as I said, I just felt like he was slightly flat.
Okay.
And I just wanted a bit more from him. But I appreciate that you thought he was doing it.
I really liked him in it. I agree with you. I'd like to have seen more of him, really. I'd like to see more of him getting sort of stuck into the action. But there's a bit I do like is where he's talking about it's really random as well, because I think he's sort of trying to build something. It might be that iPod that he gives to Tegan. I can't remember. That's so funny. He gives like this early offer. But no, there's a bit where he's like frantically trying to put something together, and he starts telling the story about a man that dreamt he was a frog, and when he woke up he couldn't remember if he was a frog that had actually dreamt he was a man. And I thought, I love that. I love it when Davison just comes out with random stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, for me, I really enjoyed Davison in this one. I thought he was really good. But
cool.
I would have liked to have seen a bit more of him, doing a bit more, yeah.
Okay. Anything else before scores?
Just have a quick look at my list. I think we've pretty much covered it, actually.
We mentioned the music. I really like the music.
I did, yes. Cool. It really did work for me in this episode because, we're talking 1983. Sometimes the soundtracks are a bit 80s back then because it was in the 80s. But no, I thought it was really good stuff from Peter Howell in this, actually. Really added to the sort of creepy atmosphere. Really good stuff, yeah. Very good. Yes. Scores then, buddy. Right. It is you to go first. It is me. And I'm going much higher than I thought I was. I'm going with a 7.5 for this. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was a good story. I very creepy. As I said, not for the casual viewer, but it is one I'd have to be in the mood for. But I enjoyed it a lot. Just a couple of points off really for the fact that episode 3 is so drab. We get a Punch and Judy scene that goes on for what feels like half the episode. It really lets it down, actually, and the abrupt ending and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going high, mate, because I think the cast in it are great. And I think there is a good story in there. It's just chopped up a bit too much. But yeah, 7.5. Okie dokie. I'm going to go a little bit lower than you, as you probably expected, with a 6.5. Yep. A 6.5. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. And the only reason why I'm going a little bit lower than you is because of Davison's performance, in my opinion, but also just the length of the story as a whole. And yeah, I agree with you about that. Definitely. A few things. Yes. Yeah. But, overall, not a bad watch. Pretty good. Certainly better than I was expecting. Yeah. Yes. Okie dokie. What did our lovely listeners think? We had a couple of audio clips in. Let's jump on the first one now. This is Sammy Satine.
G'day, Gary and Adam. Sammy Satine here. So, Snakedance. Weird is how I would put this one. I am scared of snakes, so I can't really blame Tegan for being terrified of them. There's a lot of multicoloured snakes in this story. It's okay. Well, as far as weird goes. I give it 5 scary snakes out of 10. Oh, and Gary, I hope this has brought you back down to earth now that you've met David Tennant. I'm so jealous. Anyway, see ya.
Thank you, Sammy. And yes, it has brought me down with a thump. I must admit, I'm glad Sammy finished this because I saw on Twitter that she was struggling with it. I think she watched the first 2 and said, I've had to give up. I'll come back to it tomorrow. And I thought, uh-oh. So you made it through and it sounds like it was all right in the end. So that's not too bad. Yeah, thank you. Over on Twitter, the Theta Sigma podcast. Hi, guys. Says, not the best sequel Doctor Who has ever had. A shame, really, as it had the potential to be brilliant, but suffers from poor acting and poor production values. No, not poor acting. I thought they were good. Yeah, he says, at best, a 5 out of 10. Okay. The TARDIS Files HQ. Says, an interesting follow-up from Kinder. Although Kinder is a better episode, some interesting ideas brought up in this one, and Davison gives a great performance as usual, even with a somewhat dull script. But I'm afraid it's no higher than a 5 out of 10. Oh, okay. Oh, dear. Sarah Louise Baggett, the Running Hoovian, says, I thought the storyline was good, interesting, and it held my attention. The Doctor, Nyssa and Dugdale and Lorne all performed well. Tegan and the rest of the supporting cast, not so. Production provided some quality scenes, but the poor scenes really did let it down. So I give it a 6 out of 10.
Fair enough.
The Proctor Who podcast.
Hey, hi guys.
Hey guys. They say I think it's one of my favourite Davison stories.
Really?
Martin Clunes is great, as is the rest of the cast. Love it. 8.5.
Brilliant. Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. The Proctor Who, such a cool podcast, by the way. If you don't listen to those guys, go and check them out. Nick Payne, 99, says, I found it dull and unengaging.
Oh dear.
A poor story with meh execution. Martin Clunes was good in his guest appearance, though. And Andrew Dexter says, I remember this story from 83. It was the first time I saw Martin Clunes.
Yes, first time many of us did, I think.
Indeed. That was it for Twitter. Let's jump onto our second audio clip before we get onto Facebook. This is Martin Arnold.
Hello, Time Lords. This is the one where the Doctor's dancing for his life, right? Oh no, that's Flashdance. Oh, I think I've watched the wrong DVD. So I remember watching Kinder as a kid, and that episode gave me the absolute ruddy fear, and did for years on end. So when it came time to watch season 2 of the Fifth Doctor, and we've got Snakedance, I'm like, oh no, not this again. And for those reasons, those 2 episodes always stand out for me. This is the superior one, I think. They're both very good, but Kinder is kind of very, very strange and very oblique. But this one makes a lot more sense to the casual viewer. It's worth watching the DVD extras, so that I think the writer explains the mythology behind it all, which is really interesting. And the relationship between the Doctor and Tegan always came off as a bit superficial, but I liked it. There was a bit more to it. He obviously cares for the character, obviously cares for Tegan, despite her being ultimately very cranky, because she does get put through the ringer, almost as much as anyone whose name is Pond. So I give this 8 steel points out of 10. It's good stuff. I like it a lot. Cheers.
Interesting. Excellent. Cheers, Martin.
Thank you very much. Over on Facebook, Miles McKenzie. Now, Miles, you sent us a couple of messages over the weekend at Comic-Con, and I'm very sorry we didn't get a chance to meet you. But I did see you in the queue 2 times. I saw you, but you were very busy as we were. So at the next event, we will meet up.
And I met him. I did get to see him right at the end of the day.
Oh, cool.
Yes, he came over and said hi. So he got to meet half the blue box.
Okay, nice one. Okay, so Miles says, never even heard of this one until I found it on the bookshelf of HMV.
Really?
I've not seen the conclusion, but so far, good for me. Everyone was great. I've not seen as much as I've wanted of Davison, but this is leaving me wanting more. Gives it a 7.5 out of what he's seen so far.
Oh, that's really good.
Cool. Kevin Mullin says, it's fair to say I'm not a fan of the Fifth Doctor. I find nearly all of his stories as beige as his coat.
Oh.
But Snakedance, like Kinder before it, is a truly brilliant story. Rich dialogue and a multifaceted story make this a sometimes overlooked gem. An 8 out of 10.
Cool.
Sarah Strang says, I hope you enjoyed LFCC. It looks like you both had a blast. I watched Snakedance for the first time this week, and the story romped along mostly. It was dark and interesting. Martin Clunes was terrific, but Davison spends a lot of his scenes doing this weird heavy breathing thing, which I found distracting.
You said that, didn't you?
Yes. Not one I'll probably pick up again, but glad I watched it. A 6 out of 10.
Fair enough.
I agree with you, Sarah. Yes. Our writer, Maria Kalitichu, says, I love this story. I remember having a crush on Jonathan Morris.
Oh.
It has a small cast, but allows for an intelligent, enjoyable script and rich characters. A cynical world. Manusa and Martin Clunes is excellent as the bored aristocrat. I love the contrast of deep mysticism versus the commercialism of the bizarre. The regulars work well together, especially Sutton and Davison. Brian Miller is really good too.
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Lewis Palmer says, not one of my fave 5 stories, but a decent one. I really enjoy seeing the Mara again. It's one of my favourite Fifth Doctor monsters. Other than that, it's kind of forgettable. but Martin Clunes. And 5 out of 10. And lastly, Joseph Howarth says, I will say it's as good as Kinder, but it's still, not as, hold on. I will say it isn't as good as Kinder, but it's still pretty good. Quite a dark story, clever writing, and it was quite nice to see Martin Clunes in that story. Great to see the Mara again. Once again, not as good as Kinder, but enjoyable. 8 out of 10.
Oh, that's quite high.
Yeah. Did you have any comments over on the Geeks Handbag?
Yes, I did. Jason Howes didn't enjoy this one. He says, oh dear, that's all I can say about it. Not a fan.
Dear.
Tim Keep says, you won't believe this, but after watching this as a small child, I kept drawing the snake tattoo on my arm for goodness knows how long. Yeah, I can believe that. It's creepy, that snake. Charlie Turner says, pretty good story, much better than Kinder. What? But not a standout of the Fifth Doctor. He's sorry he didn't get to see us at Comic-Con. Yeah, me too, mate. Sorry, I did keep an eye out for you. Charlie gives it a 7.5 out of 10.
Nice.
Malcolm Paterson says, a story with a lot of potential. Clunes and Fielding were superb, but the dream conversations were a tad boring. Little bit of polish and finesse. It could have been one of the great episodes. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, mate. It's actually a good example of a good story giving way to bad production values, and the snake at the end was unfortunately one of the very worst Who monsters. Yeah, that big old snake. And finally, Bradley Willard says, a very weak and messy story in his opinion, and a terrible follow-up to Kinder. Martin Clunes and Janet Fielding helped to portray the Mara in an extremely creepy and unnerving way, but for me it's nowhere near as effective when you compare it to the Mara's characterization in the previous season. I don't hate the story, just think it has a little bit room for improvement. Furthermore, the ending is so rushed and forced that it leaves you questioning the plot holes long after the TV has been turned off. So it's not a good thing, he says, and he gives it 5 out of 10. So it's a mixed bag, and I get it, because I think it is a mixed bag, and it's one of those stories that me personally, I'd have to be in the mood for it. But I think if I am in the mood for it, I find it quite enjoyable. So I really want to go and watch Kinder now.
Me too.
I haven't watched Kinder for ages. Yeah, we'll get round to that one. But yeah,
we will.
It's like somebody said on the podcast comments. It's left me wanting more Davison. So yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing at all.
Nah. Next week, we didn't get round to this one because last month we had to cancel an episode.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So. What are we doing next week, buddy?
I don't. It's Cyberwoman? I haven't got the schedule in front of me. It must be.
Professionalism.
As ever.
As always.
It's Cyberwoman, isn't it?
It
must
indeed.
be. Yes.
Torchwood, Cyberwoman.
Yeah.
There was a couple of you that sent in reviews and stuff from the last time we were going to do it, so I've kept those. So that's all good. However, the rest of you need to watch it and send in your stuff.
Right, cool.
Yes. And I think we'll do there for 197.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for sticking with us for this pretty long episode again, 197. It's been awesome talking through LFCC and our adventures over there down in that London. Which is cool. I have no idea what the next event is, really.
Me either. I think I'm going to be paying for this one for the next. I don't think I'll be able to afford to go to any.
You're not far off the truth there, mate.
Yeah.
So I've no idea what we're up to next, but we'll tell you when we have something. But also, it's cool to have a new image of Jodie, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's quite cool. Just would have been nice if it had launched a bit earlier to be used in some material, I guess. And if you do end up ordering the Class soundtracks, do let us know if they're any good, because we can't really remember if they're any good or not.
I certainly won't be going back to watch it to find out. So.
No. Next week.
Sorry, that's a bit negative, wasn't
it? You only speak the truth, Adam.
I do.
Yes.
He speaks the truth, Lord Perusa. Sorry.
Next week, we're going back to Torchwood for Cyberwoman, so get that watched, because we'll be asking you for your reviews and stuff on that. In the meantime, head over to the website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous shows on there. Plus, you can read all of the cool articles that our writing team put out on there as well. And there's also links to the social accounts. So if you want to follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, we chat loads of Doctor Who during the week in between episodes. So give us a like and a follow on there. There's also buttons to go off to the various podcast networks. So if you're on any of those, just give us a sub so that when the show lands every Friday, you don't miss out on what's going on. The big ones
are they big red buttons?
They're not. I think they're blue.
I like a big red button.
Blue and orange. And if you're an iTunes listener, that's the main podcast network, I guess. If you could spare a minute for a review, that would be awesome. Also, check out Adam's channel, The Geeks Handbag.
Geeks Handbag, yeah. I'll tell you, I've got some great videos coming your way. I really have.
So. Yeah.
I have, yeah. I'm working on now 4. I'm working on 4. All at the same time.
Wowzers.
Oh, no, I'm going for it.
So check out Adam's channel on YouTube. He's also on Facebook and all the usual socials.
Yeah.
And until next week, my name's Gary.
My name's Ad.
And remember,